In my last video comparing the size of Jupiter through a Celestron 6SE and C9.25, something was wrong. Jupiter was too small, physics was broken, math wasn't working, and I'll admit it, I was confused. So I realized this after a commenter questioned my pixel sizes in that video, and I thought I'd just go back and check the standard pixel scale formula and verify, double check the values that I got. I should be pretty close. And for this video, I'm going to focus on the C9.25, but I had the same difference, the same smaller Jupiter with the 6SE. And in fact, in the C9.25, I was missing 40 pixels, which was a pretty significant percentage. About 20% of the pixels were missing from Jupiter. And so that's a pretty big error in my little physics lab I'm running here. That's probably like C+ work. So I had to figure this out. So I had to go back to that pixel scale formula and look at the constants to see what I was doing wrong. Looking at the pixel size, 2 microns, it has to be 2 microns. Sony's going to design their chips and their sensors to be accurate to the nanometer, so I knew that wasn't an issue. The diameter of Jupiter is well known and it's accurate in Stellarium, so I knew that wasn't an issue. Now I did measure the diameter in that video, polar diameter, which is going to be a little bit shorter than the equatorial diameter, which is what Stellarium reports as the diameter, but even for that I was still short on pixels. So really the only variable that was left here was the focal length, the telescope itself. And that's when it hit me that Celestron designs their SCTs to have the star diagonal in place, which adds about 100 millimeters of path into the imaging train. And by removing the star diagonal and putting the camera directly into the back of the scope, I was shortening the image path and changing the focal length of the telescope. And in fact, when I reversed the formula and solved for focal length, I found that I was actually shooting at 2100 millimeters with the C9.25. So that's actually closer to a C8 than a C9.25. And just one other thing, imaging without the proper back focal length introduces, or I should say reintroduces, some spherical aberration. So your pictures potentially might not be as sharp as they would be if you had the proper back focus. So to get that proper back focus, we're going to have to extend our image train to use the proper back focus, which is 139 millimeters for the C9.25. And to do that, we're going to ditch the visual back that came with the SCT. We're going to replace that with an SCT to T2 adapter. We're then going to put in T2 extension tubes and then follow that up with the camera. For the C9.25, after subtracting the camera flange distance and that SCT to T2 adapter distance, that's going to come out to be 106.5 millimeters that we need to make for the extension tubes. So I'm going to go with 106 millimeters to get it as close as I can. One quick thing to note on that SCT to T2 adapter, mine came with an extra adapter ring that if you leave that on, you can't screw in the T2 extension tubes directly to it. Just go ahead and remove that ring and then the T2 extension tubes will go right in there. Also, if you want to image with standard 1.25 filters, get a T2 to 1.25 filter adapter, and that'll allow you to keep a filter in your image train as well. So here's what that image train looks like. It's really long, but it is what the engineers designed the telescope to be viewed through. So we're going to do that tonight. Jupiter's up high. It's a nice clear night, and we're going to see if we can find those mixing pixels. Let's go do it. And I'm a little impatient tonight, so I'm going to do all of the measurements outside in real time instead of just gathering the data and doing it later inside. So we'll have the results here for you in a couple minutes, for me in 20 or 30 minutes. I'm going to first go get better batten off focus just because I want those edges to be really sharp, or at least as sharp as I can get them. Okay, that's good enough focus for what we're trying to do here tonight. So we'll go back over to Jupiter and take a quick picture. All right, seeing is pretty bad, so this isn't going to be a great shot, but let's go ahead and start that capture. We'll just do 2,000 pictures. We got that. Let's just go process it real quick and do a measurement. It's not a great image, but good enough to get some pixel measurements. And we want to do equatorial this time. Zooming in as much as I can for increased accuracy. Equator's about here. I'm gonna say that's about it. That is 229 pixels. There's a second measurement, 230 pixels. So let's just call that 230 pixels. So we got 230 pixels, and to know what it should be, I need to know the apparent diameter of Jupiter tonight. And to do that, we're going to go over to Stellarium and look at apparent diameter. Apparent diameter is 45.3 arc seconds. So let's put this in my focal length calculator. So 45.3 arc seconds. And my pixel count was 230. Yeah, and you could see the focal length is about 2100, which is incredible. So we're going to see now if we can extend that out to the 2350 that Celestron says this telescope has with the use of those extension tubes. And the first thing you're going to notice on your camera is Jupiter completely disappeared, and that's because it is completely out of focus. So let's widen out our field of view so we're not zoomed in at all. And it's still completely invisible. And this is where I would encourage you to turn up the brightness and the gain so that you can see Jupiter as out of focus as it is. So we started at 5 milliseconds. I'm going to go up to 80 milliseconds. You can start to see the disk. Let's just go ahead and crank that gain up. And now you can see the light from Jupiter, but again, completely out of focus. Now, to get this in focus, we are going to have to turn the focus knob a lot because we changed that back focus so much. And it's going to be in the counterclockwise direction. And I've done this before, so I know that it's going to take about 6.5 to 7 complete rotations in the counterclockwise direction to bring this into focus. So, after you turn it a few times, you're going to think you're not making any progress. Just keep going 6, 7 times in the counterclockwise direction, and it'll come into focus. I'm going to do that now. Of course, I'm going to do it with my electronic focuser. And to accomplish it, I know that the number that I want is about 10,500. So let's go ahead and move that. My focuser is moving. You might not be able to hear it. And you're going to see Jupiter slowly come into focus. This is so many turns that even with this focus motor, it's going to spin for like a minute before this comes into focus. And so we're about there with that. I guessed pretty good at the 10,500 number. I'm going to go ahead and go get a Bahtinov focus on a nearby star just to sharpen this up as much as we can. And we'll go through this measurement again and see if we're any closer to the 2350 that I'm looking for on the focal length. Okay, I got 139 millimeters of back focus in. I got as good a focus as I'm going to get with this seeing. And let's go over to Jupiter and grab that picture. Okay, I got the picture. Now I'm going to just go process it real quick and we'll count pixels. Okay, here it is, moment of truth. That looks about it. 255.8, so 256, we'll say. So let's see what 256 pixels comes out to in our calculator. Wow, that's pretty darn close. 2,331. So we've essentially hit the 2350. That difference in focal length is purely my error in counting pixels, I'm sure. So I think we've adequately concluded that 139 millimeters of back focus is what's needed to get the full 2,350 millimeters of focal length out of a C9.25. I'm going to sit out here for another hour or two and see if the seeing improves and see if I can get some better pictures of Jupiter. But I'll tell you what, going forward, every time you see me taking pictures, I'm going to have 139 millimeters of back focus. This was really educational for me. Hopefully it was for you too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. So I did end up staying another hour out there, waited for the seeing to improve a little bit. It was kind of average seeing, but I got some of the best pictures I've ever gotten of Jupiter. And I don't know if that can be attributed to the back focus changes that I made tonight, or if it was just better seeing and I had everything dialed in perfectly, but I'm really happy with the way these pictures came out.